Building data pipelines traditionally used to be time-consuming process. You often needed to have intimate knowledge of several programming languages. You needed to know specific tools. You needed to install these tools on your computer. Um, Great news is that thanks to introduction of some cloud pipelining technologies in recent years, Microsoft made it very easy. So you would be surprised how quickly you can build end-to-end pipelines that can perform extract, load, and transform, and with very little upfront training, thanks to easy to understand and intuitive graphical interface. Uh, Data flow within Microsoft Fabric is one of these easy tools. Follow me along if you want to learn more. Hello friends, Fikrat is here. This video is part of multi-part tutorial dedicated to learn uh, Dataflow Gen2 within Microsoft Fabric. And in today's session, which is introductory session, we're going to discuss several topics. So let me give you a sneak peek. So we'll start with general description of this service. I'll explain you how this service stands in compared to other data pipelining tools within Data Factory. And then we'll jump into demo where we'll create our first data flow. And for the purpose of this, we will consume data from Azure SQL database. Then I'll walk you through Dataflow's user interface. I will explain purpose of data panels that are part of UI. I'll show you how to use command tools, command bars. I'll show you how to enable or disable data profiling tools. Next, we're going to add sample transformation to existing queries. You will see how easy is it to add column or table level transformations. Then we're going to add destination. So we're going to write into lakehouse, and I'll show you different modes of writing. So append versus replace. Next, we are going to explore some smart inference features within Dataflow. So we'll learn how to bring columns from external tables that are related to current query. Finally, we're going to publish our data flow and start its execution. It's called refreshing. So we will refresh data flow, and I'll show you how to schedule it so that your execution will happen automatically. And finally, I'll show you how to orchestrate data flow from data pipelines. So we have explored data pipeline in a few previous videos. So orchestrating data flow from data pipeline gives you advantage of creating more complex hierarchical pipelines. Okay, so let's jump into it. So what is Microsoft Fabric data flows? Fabric Data Factory has two pipelining tools. That's data pipelines that we have extensively explored in past few videos. If you haven't seen that, I would recommend to take a look. This is great GUI-based tool, graphical-based tool, which allows you to extract and load. So it has ability to connect to many different sources, including on-premises and cloud sources. And but it's mainly to move data around, so from one location to another location. Data flows, on the other hand, in addition to extraction and the loading, allows you also to transform your data. So you may choose to first extract and load data to your lakehouse and then transform it. Or alternatively, you can uh, apply transformations while you are extracting data. Just like data pipelines, data flows are low-code graphical-based tool, which is very good for people who don't like coding. So they can easily learn the tool, and so within short times they can start building um, sophisticated and powerful pipelines. So although this is graphical based pipelining tool, it also has underlying language that's called Microsoft Power Query language, which this is query. So this language is, by the way, is part of Power BI. So for people who are familiar with Power BI, it will be easy to learn this language. And finally, it replaces mapping data flows that are part of Data Factory. So I mentioned in one of the previous calls that its Data Factory is independent Azure service. It's still there, but with Microsoft Fabric now we have Data Factory that is part of Microsoft Fabric, and mapping flows are being replaced by Dataflow Gen2, which has slightly different interface. So I have included here some sample pipeline. As you can see, we have multiple steps here, and we can have many different data exploration tools. Okay, I am in Microsoft Fabric's Data Factory's homepage. So as you can see, I have selected Data Factory. And from here, there are multiple ways of creating data flow. So one easy way is to use new button. So on the new button, as you can see, we have data pipeline and the data flow buttons. But I can also use create button, which allows to create more artifacts. So I'm going to use new button here. The first step in your data flow is to bring your data. There are few options here. You can either use these buttons as the central part of the screen, or you can use get data. So I'm going to use get data menu button, and here I can select my data source. So I'm going to ingest from Azure SQL database, um, Azure SQL database AdventureWorks that I have used in past. But before I go there, I'll quickly show you other available data sources. So you can see we have few more data sources here. And if I click view more, I can see a lot more other data sources. So I'll put my SQL. I can also type it. So I'll select my SQL server, and I'm gonna put my server name here and the database name. So Fabric has recognized my connection. So I had this connection. That's why I don't need to enter details anymore. So I'm gonna hit next. And from here, I can select tables. So I'm gonna select two tables and confirm. Okay, now let me walk you through um, Dataflow's UI. On the left-hand side, we have queries panel, which will include all the queries you added here. So when we say query, you can think of as mini pipelines. So this is one of my queries. So in this example, you can see this has two steps. So one, two steps. But you can normally your queries will include many more steps. So your queries will show up in central part as well. So as soon as you select on one part, it will be highlighted in another part. On the right hand side, you can see queries settings. So that's will include all the steps. Just like here, it will include all the steps, and you can select individual steps. And as you select your steps, at the bottom, you will see data sample here. So that's the data view panel. Um, Here in the middle, we have description of this individual transformation. So transformations that I have selected. So if I select this transformation, you can see that I have description of this transformation. You can also think of them as a formula, individual step formula. So if you take a look here at the right bottom corner, we have three buttons. So this allows you to turn on or turn off these panels. So um, right now I am seeing data view panel, but I can switch to schema view. So if I click this, now it shows me schema uh, of the steps that I have selected here. I can also turn on or off the diagram view. So now it's gone. So if I want to expand my one panel, I can turn on or turn off. So let me turn on my data view. So here you can see data profile. So it by default, it will not show, but I am gonna show you how you can turn on or turn off. So if you navigate to options, here you have enable column profile. So if I just remove this profile will disappear. But let me turn it back. And once you have turned it back, you have few other options, so which you may or may not include. So I'm gonna to include all of these options, which includes quality details, data value distribution. I'm gonna say confirm. And let's take a look at this new informations here. So I will expand this. So at the top, you can see percentage of valid values within my column. So this is good if your column is calculated column. So in some cases, certain rows may show some errors. Um, and it will also show percentage of errors as well as empty rows. If I click any column, at the bottom, you will see, let me expand this. You will see more details about selected column. So here on the left-hand side, I have column statistics. So I can see distinct count, unique count, minimum, maximum. That's standard statistics that you can see. And I can also see bigger version of my value distribution. As I mentioned, data flows, so any transformations that you include in your flow will be can also be described by language, so Power Query language. So you can take a look here using advanced editor to your queries transformations. So I'll open this. So this is my transformations. As you can see, only two steps are here. And at the top, you can see the different available transformations. So you can either choose your transformations from here, or you can navigate to column related transfer tab, or you can navigate to table related tabs. Let's add quick transformation here to demonstrate how this transformation steps are added here. So I'm gonna use add column. So I'm gonna add index column to this table, so address table. I'll navigate to add column, and from here I have index column option, and from here I can say start from 1. Now you can see that we have extra step here, and if I look at my data, we have this index added. So as you can see, it's very easy to add transformations. All you need to do is just to select necessary button here, and this language, so this tooling is very rich and powerful. You can do a lots of stuff that are normally required when you build your data integration pipelines. Um, I'll also mention that you can expand this query window. So when you have many steps, so it's useful to have this expanded view. Okay, now that we know how to add transformations, um, you can also optionally add your destination. So if you add your destination, your pipeline will act just like data pipelines that we talked about. So other types of data pipelines. So it will not only extract data, but it will also write on the destination. Optionally, you may also leave your queries without destination. So if you do that, then your data flows can be used like views, or can be used as another data source within other data flows. Let me add data, so destination here. So there are multiple ways of doing that. So you can use add data destination from here, or you can add it from query settings. So I'm going to add from here, and I can choose between different destinations. So I'll use lake house. And if you don't have connections, then you have to create new connection here. But I have already created connection, so I'm going to just confirm. And here I can select my workspace, my lake house, and my table name. And I'll click next. So I already created this pipeline once, and it says my specified table already exists. So that means that now we have basically two choices. Either we have to specify different table name, or we can specify existing table, in which case we have an option to select new table, existing table, sorry. So this is my table. I'll select next. And here I am presented with two options. I can either use append mode, which will basically add new rows at the end of my table, or I can replace existing rows. I'm going to use replace mode and hit OK. Okay, so that now you can see that my destination has been added here. So this small icon, and you can see my destination here as well. If needed, I can click here and change my destination settings. Um, I'd like to bring your attention to something very uh, interesting. So I added two tables here, address and the customer, but you can see that at the end of this, um, Flow have discovered relationship to other tables from, so in this case, from address table to customer address table. And as you can see, we have few extra columns added here, which allows me to easily add the related columns from other tables. So if I click here, I can select column from my customer address table. So maybe I'll choose, so I'll unselect all this and we'll select address type. Okay, now let's take a look at the queries that I have added here. So if I expand this, um, as I mentioned, all my queries will be added here, but you can add some organization structure here. So if I right click here, I can add new group. So I'll name it dimensions. Now I can select my queries and move them under this folder. Now that we know how to add your queries to Dataflow and apply transformations and add destination, the last step in your pipeline preparation is publishing. So I click publish button here, which will save definition of my pipeline to my workspace. So it usually takes few minutes. So my publishing is completed. So my pipeline have been saved to my workspace. However, uh, right after that, refresh started. So refresh is essentially execution of your pipeline, so data flow. So this execution will take another few minutes. Okay, so my data flow refresh has completed. Now I can review the refresh status by clicking here and navigating to refresh history. So it will show me all the recent refresh timings as well as status. From here, if needed, I can schedule refresh. So close this window. I can optionally schedule my refresh from this screen as well. So if I click here, then I can expand refresh, turn on scheduling. And here I have ability to select between refresh frequency. I can specify my time zone and select timing for refresh. So I'm gonna close this window and we'll choose different way of um, orchestrating my data flow. Alternatively, you can also call your data flow from data pipelines. So let me go to home space again. And from here, I'm going to create data flow, data pipeline. And here I can navigate to activities and add data flow activity. And from here, I can select my data flow. So that was data flow number 9. So advantage of calling your data flow from pipeline is that you can include many other steps in your pipeline, and you can build dependency between your steps. So this is something that we have talked about in one of the previous videos. Okay, so that concludes today's discussion. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in future videos.